Okay, so what we're doing today is direct proportion. Now, this is for higher people, so make sure you're probably year 8 onwards. In the UK, obviously, I don't know what it is in other countries. So this is quite a nice topic, and it is quite repetitive. So if you're someone that likes repetitive things like that, like me, you'll quite enjoy this. So direct proportion means when one thing increases, so will something else. So for example, the longer that time goes on, generally house prices increase. Okay, so both of those would increase at the same time. Or the amount of fuel that you use will increase at the same time as the distance that you travel. Okay, both of them would increase at the same time. So I'm going to show you the steps of how to do these sorts of questions. These are the very basic ones. EG3, I will be doing a slightly harder one, but not to the difficulty that they could possibly give you. Okay, so these are good for people that have only just started. So direct proportion. So in the question, y is directly proportional to x. Okay, we're given this detail here when y is equal to 30, x is equal to 5. Part A is that we need to find the equation for y in terms of x. So the things that they are looking for to start off with, first thing is this. So y, I call this a little fish, and x. So this fish means proportional. Okay, so it's just telling me that y is proportional to x. Okay, I don't know why it's a fish, it just is. But I quite enjoy drawing them, so it's okay. Okay, and the letters go in the order of the question, so y goes first, so y will go first there. Now, we need to make this an equation. At the moment, it's not. So to make that an equation, we write it equals, but we're going to add the letter k. So this k represents a constant. Okay, and by that, I just mean a number. Now, this number is really important because we need to find it. Okay, and to do that, to find it, we're going to use this bit of information here. Okay, and you'll be given that in every question, a little bit of a description of the two numbers that when y is this, x is this, to enable us to then be able to work out what k is. Okay, I'm just going to add step numbers. So this is step 1. This is step 2. So step 3 is called sub in y and x. Okay, so we have our formula y equals kx. Now we're told that y is 30, so I'm going to change the y to be 30. We don't know what k is, okay, because we're going to leave it as k. Now, when letters are next to each other, that does mean that they're multiplied together. And x is 5. So I've just changed the x to be 5. So these numbers have just come from the question here. Okay, so I'm just going to write it out slightly differently. So normally we don't write numbers like that. We'd always have the number and then the letter. Okay, now at this point you can just think 5 times what would give you 30, and most of you could probably work it out. If you like equations, think of it like an equation. So if we wanted to work out what one of the k's are rather than 5, we would divide by 5 on both sides. So k is equal to 6. Okay. Step 4 is just the answer. So we come back to step 2, so the y equals kx, but we now know that k is the number 6. So rather than writing k, we can write the number 6. And that is my final answer, y equals 6x. Okay, so it's an equation that involves both the letters. Okay, and we can now use this to work out whatever we want for y. So for part B, we're told that x is 9, and we need to work out the value of y. So we can use this formula, y equals 6x. So because we know that x is 9, I can change that x to be 9. So it would be 6 multiplied by 9. Okay, and we just multiply them together. And straight away it tells me that y is 54. Okay, and that's all you need to do for those questions. So EG2 is very similar, they've just sort of changed the letters. I've added a C in as well, just because they sometimes do that as well. So for part A, we're going to follow the same steps as what we did up here. I'm just going to bring it down a little bit, see if I can fit both in. Just about. So step 1. So we've got L is directly proportional, so fish, to the letter M. Step 2, we need to make it an equation. So it'll still be L, and then it'll become an equals instead. K, M. It's always a K. Step 3. So we're going to sub in L and M. So we're told in the question here that L is 10 and M is 20. Okay, so change the L to a 10, change the M to a 20, and then we've still got the K there. So again, I just want 1K, I don't want 20 of them, so I divide both sides by 20. Now this one you would be able to use a calculator, but try and use your brain a little bit. If you're not sure, the easiest way is to write it as a fraction and then simplify it. So 10 divided by 20 is like that. We can simplify that, so 10 goes into both. So that'll be the same as 1/2. Okay, step 4. We've actually got to write the answer, so again we come back to step 2. Now we know that K is a 1/2, and then we keep it as an M. Okay, so step 3 and step 4 come back to the step 2. Okay, so step 3, we use this and we just replace what L and M are using the numbers from the question. Okay, and then we solve it to work out what K is as a number. Okay, and yet it can be a fraction. If you do prefer decimals, you could have changed that to 0.5. Okay, and then step 4, again, we come back to step 2, but we change the K to the number that we worked out here. Okay, so for B. First thing I'm going to do is just write out the formula, because guaranteed we're going to be using it. So we're told that we need to find the value of L when M is 100. Okay, so M is 100. So all we do is 1/2 of 100, which is 50. There you go. So straight away we know that L is 50. Now the reason why I put C in is because it's slightly different. So this time we're told that L is 2. Okay, so I change the L to 2. And we need to work out what M is. So we know that 1/2 of M is equal to 2. So I want a whole one. So to get a whole, we multiply by 2. Okay, because 2 halves make 1 whole. Now whatever you do to that side, you do also need to do to the other side as well, which means that M must be equal to 2 times 2, which is 4. And that's my final answer. So it's not too difficult, it's just a little bit fiddly because it's slightly different to what we do at the top. Okay, so EG3 is slightly different. It is done the same way, but the issue is, it's called, so previously they were called linear ones, because both the letters, it was just a letter. This has now become a quadratic because it's b squared. Okay, which makes it just a tiny bit harder when we're doing the steps, but the method is still the same. So, again, step 1, we write out the formula. So it would be A is directly proportional, so the little fish, to b squared. So it is just the symbols that you see, okay? It will be b squared, it won't just be b. Step 2 needs to be an equation, so it'll still be a and b squared, but there'll be an equals and there'll be a k in front of the b squared. Okay, step 3, this is where it goes slightly troublesome. So we're told from here in the question that when a is 18, b is 3. Okay, so I'm going to change the a to 18. Okay, leave the k as it is for now, and b is 3, but we've got to square it because it's b squared. So left hand side still stays as 18. 3 squared, so 3 times 3 is 9. So this is the same as 9k. But we obviously just want 1k, so to do that we must divide both sides by 9. So 18 divided by 9 gives us 2. So k must be 2. And step 4, the actual answer. So we come back to step 2. A equals something b squared. We've just worked out that k is the number 2. So rather than writing k there, we can write the number 2. Now I know in the question it says in terms of a and b, you can have b squareds and b cubes and things like that. As long as you've got the letter b there, even with a power, that's fine. And for part b, so again I'm just going to write the formula out because we're going to need it. So a equals 2b squared. We're told that b is 5 and we need to work out what a is. So 2 multiplied by 5 squared, so 2 from there, b is 5 and we've got to square it. Now this point, just remember BIDMAS, okay? So powers come before multiplication. So at this point a lot of people want to do 2 times 5 and then you square it. Okay, but you've really got to remember that you've got to do this part first. So it'll still be 2, but 5 squared gives you 25. And then you can multiply by 2, which gives us 50. Okay, so A must be 50. Okay, and that's how you do basic direct proportion.